Liam is an overworked officer drone who hasn't had a good night's sleep in almost 10 years. His work life is more toxic than reality TV shows, so the only thing keeping him going right now is his loving wife and daughter. Once Liam returns home for the day, he's greeted by Mika and asked about their daughter, Kanami. Mika tells him Kanami has already gone to bed, but she spent the whole day begging for a dog. Apparently, she saw Aishiba over at her friend's house recently, and she hasn't been able to get over it. Liam isn't sure they can afford to get a dog right now, but after looking at his sleeping daughter, he decides it might be worth it to get a dog if it will make Kanami happy, even if he has to take on a few extra shifts at work. The next day he takes Kanami to a pet shop to get her a dog and she looks really happy. Mika is honestly surprised that Liam agreed to get a dog since it would add even more work to his plate, but he's fine with it. He believes that as long as he keeps his wife and daughter happy, he can make it through any challenges, but he couldn't have been more wrong about that. The next day at work, Liam gets yelled at by his boss for not delivering a report to him on time. Liam reminds the boss that he sent the report in on Thursday. But on Thursday, the boss was at a club with thick Latinas, so he didn't see the message. And somehow he still finds a way to blame Liam for it. At work, Liam faces constant abuse, either from his irresponsible boss or from his subordinates who don't respect him. They constantly take credit for things that he accomplishes and blame him for things that he didn't do, so his work life is like an active minefield. But he come home every day and see his wife and daughter always manage to lift his spirits. However, the next day, while Liam is on the train to work, he receives a message from his friend Nita. Nita is telling him about the latest Gundam that just dropped and asks him to help buy it for him. Liam gets a chuckle out of how much Nita loves his Gundams, but since they are friends, he decides to go buy one. He gets off the train and uses Google Maps to try finding the store, but he isn't familiar with the area, so he ends up getting lost. He starts looking around to see if he can spot any landmarks, but that's when he spots his wife on a date with a random guy. Liam is in disbelief at first because Mika told him she was going to drop Kanami off at sword practice today. Yet here she is. Later that evening, Liam gets home from work and asks Mika what she did today. Mika lies and says all she did was drop Kanami off at sword practice, so Liam is about to reveal that he saw her out on a date, but he ends up pretending that nothing is wrong. He doesn't want to ruin his happy family life, so he starts trying to convince himself that he must have misunderstood what he saw. After all, there's no way Mika would ever cheat on him. He decides to go on a break to clear his mind, so he tries to put his computer on standby, but that doesn't seem to be working, so he's forced to turn it off until he gets back. He takes his stroll through the city and wanders over to the spot where he saw Mika on a date earlier, and he is relieved to see that she's not here today. But all that relief vanishes when he hears Mika on the phone with her suspected affair partner, and she even brought Kanami with her. Liam tries to maintain hope that the guy is just a friend, but then he hears Kanami call the man Papa, and his world practically shatters. He goes back to work and tries to convince himself that his wife isn't cheating on him. Maybe that was just a really good friend who likes to roleplay as Kanami's father when Liam isn't around. Just then, his boss comes over and starts yelling at Liam for slacking off. So Liam explains that he is just waiting for his computer to turn on. It's been having problems with the standby mode, so for security reasons, Liam has to turn it off every time he goes on break. But his boss just yells at him even more and says he should just skip all his breaks. Just then, he gets a call from Mika and she tells him that Kanami got into a horrible accident, so Liam frantically rushes down to the hospital. Once he gets there, he asks Mika where Kanami is and she tells him she's already in the operating room. Just then, the doctor comes out and asks if the two of them are Kanami's parents. They both say yes, so he tells them that he needs one of them to donate blood to Kanami and asks what their blood groups are. Liam says he is AB positive and Mika says she is O negative, so the doctor asks Mika to come into the operating room for the blood transfusion. Liam asks the doctor why it has to be Mika, so he explains that Kanami is also O negative, so Liam's blood wouldn't be a match for her. While the surgery is going on, Liam does a little googling and discovers that it is physically impossible for Kanami to have an O blood type when he is AB. So the only plausible explanation is that she isn't really his daughter. He's finally had enough, so he confronts Mika about it, and asks if Kanami is really his daughter or not. But then Mika starts gaslighting him and says she is the one who should be mad here because Liam doesn't care about this family at all. She says he is never around, so Liam explains that it's because he always has to work late, but Mika refuses to listen. She tells Liam that his job is worthless because he never gets raises or promotions, so he can't afford to give her the kind of life she wants. Liam can't believe what he's hearing, but Mika continues and yells that in the 10 years that they've been married, she almost never gets to see Liam, so she's had to raise Kanami all by herself. She's conveniently ignoring the part about Kanami not being Liam's child though. She tells Liam that he has never been a part of this household and she's going to take Kanami and leave. Liam asks her where she plans to go, but Mika ignores him and knocks on Kanami's door, telling her that they are going to leave. Liam tries to stop her, but Mika pulls herself away and he is getting desperate, so he yells that he has always done his best for Kanami and begs her not to leave him. But then Kanami tells him she likes her other father better and he loses all hope. The next day Liam goes into work and he is still devastated by Mika and Kanami's betrayal. But then he gets called over by his boss and is accused of embezzling company funds. Liam denies this, but the boss clearly has a record of 50 million yen being sent to a random account and the logs are from Liam's computer, so he's fired on the spot. After losing his job, Mika used it as an excuse to file for divorce and even sued him for child support, even though Kanami isn't his daughter. In order to avoid jail time for the alleged embezzling, Liam agreed to pay the 50 million yen back by getting a job as a construction worker. But realistically, he's going to die long before he ever pays that off. His life is pretty much over now, and the only semblance of joy he has left is from Nita. He sends Liam a message about the latest Gundam episode, so Liam is about to send a message saying he'd love to watch it with him. But then he deletes it because he doesn't want Nita to find out about how sad his life has become. He tries to stay hopeful and believes that if he just works hard enough, then his life will surely become better. But then while he is eating his lunch, he coughs up some blood and he realizes bronchitis coup is coming for him. That night he tries to get some sleep, but his bloody cough is getting worse and he can't even seek professional help because he can't afford the treatment. He's forced to just sit in his bed and await his inevitable death. But just as life begins to fade from his body, a light appears above him and starts showing him visions. The vision reveals that it was his boss who embezzled the 50 million yen from Liam's computer, and it was also the same boss who Mika had been cheating on him with. And all that stuff Mika said earlier about feeling neglected turns out to have been a total lie, because she always saw Liam as nothing more than an insignificant worm that she could mill for his money. She was even part of the plan to frame Liam for embezzling the money from the company. Liam is heartbroken and can't believe what he's seeing is real, but a mysterious man tells him that it's all true. He asks Liam if he is really going to let them get away with such despicable behavior, and Liam has reached his limit, so he swears that he will make them pay for what they have done, even if it's the last thing he does. The man loves the pure rage coming from Liam right now, so he's glad he decided to come visit him. But he never introduced himself, so Liam asks him who he is supposed to be and why he is here. The man explains that he just happened to take an interest in Liam because he's a good man, but Liam doesn't seem amused because living a good life left him with nothing. If he could go back, he would live his life selfishly and prioritize himself above all else. The man is pleased to hear this, so he informs Liam that he's actually here to offer him a chance to go to another world, and all Liam needs to do is choose the world he wants to go to. For all Liam knows, this might just be a hallucination he is having on his deathbed, but if he is really being given the option of choosing a new world, he wants to make it count. He recalls hearing Nita mention something about another world before, and there's a Gundam world, so he decides to go with that. This is a world of both sci-fi and magic, and it is heavily influenced by royals and nobles, so there's a chance that Liam might end up as a peasant on a farm somewhere. But since the man likes him, he says he will reincarnate Liam as the son of a count who rules a planet to make things easier for him. Liam is glad to hear that his new life will be better than his current one, so with his dying breath, he signs the Isekai contract and his soul is sent to the new world. The story continues. We see on planet Hydra, it is officially Liam's 5th birthday, so his mother has organized a party for him. She also has a special present for him, so she tells Liam to follow her and activates a floating spell beneath her feet. Liam does the same, and once they get to the next room, he finds a giant cake and a huge box next to it. Liam eagerly unwraps his gift and finds a cube, so his mother explains that it's the character customization for his very own AI maid. He can use this remote to select any features he wants the maid to have, and it will be sent to a manufacturing company to be produced. Other customizable features include the ears, the mouth, and several other body parts that need to be blurred out. Liam asks her why she's giving a 5-year-old such a thing, but she says it is very important. His father then comes over and he says he has a special gift for Liam as well, the entirety of the Banfield estate. Liam is shocked to hear that his father is really willing to hand over the entire estate to a 5-year-old. Liam asks if his father is really serious about making him the new count, and he confirms it. But there's just one tiny condition Liam needs to agree to first. After he hands the estate over to Liam, he wants to move into a villa with his wife and live out the rest of his days in peace. So he tells Liam that he needs to agree to give him an allowance every month to receive the estate. Liam is so blinded by the prospect of power that he doesn't realize how weird it is that his father is willing to hand everything over to a literal infant. So when his father pulls out a contract for Liam to sign, he just signs it without reading the contract. Once he is done, his father takes the contract and says he and his wife will be leaving now. But Liam still doesn't realize that he most likely just got scammed. He decides to just ignore the suspicious parts and focus on the fact that he is officially a count now, and he plans to abuse the power of a count as much as possible to make sure no one ever screws him over again. And he never would have made it here if it weren't for the guy, so he's very thankful to him. However, Liam really shouldn't have trusted a guy who literally feeds off sadness and suffering. Right after Liam was sent to the other world, the man decides to cause a lot more suffering before he returns to his realm, so he turns his attention to Mika and Liam's boss. They are still busy laughing it up in the restaurant, and Liam's boss is joking that he feels a little bad for ruining Liam's life like this, but Mika tells him she feels no sympathy for him. After all, he deserves to rot away for wasting 10 years of her life. All of a sudden, a group of police officers surround the boss and tell him that he is under arrest. The boss tries to claim that this must be a mistake, but the police have seen the camera footage of him framing Liam for the embezzlement, so they're going to lock him away for a long time. And now that her sugar daddy is going to prison, Mika is going to be completely broke and miserable, and the guide is reveling in all the suffering he has caused. Now all that's left is to transport Liam's soul to the other world, and he's going to make sure Liam suffers even more than he did in this world. He wants to savor every bit of Liam's negative emotions once he realizes how bad his life is going to be. And the lifespans of people in that world are a lot longer, so Liam will have to suffer for centuries over there. Meanwhile, over in the New World, a planet is currently under attack from the ghost pirates. But just when the captain thinks they are about to win, a bunch of his men suddenly blow up. And amidst all the chaos, he spots Leap's Princess Knight just float in there menacingly. Christiana is the first princess of the Holy Kingdom of Leap, and she is an extraordinary fighter. So once she joins the battle, the pirates begin dropping like flies. With her help, the Leap army begins pushing the pirates back. But even after the pirates start retreating, Christiana orders her soldiers to continue attacking because they need to make an example out of those foolish pirates. While that's going on, Liam has just received his AI maid and he's really excited, but he wasn't expecting it to come in a doll package. His butler tells him that all he needs to do to open the package is touch it, so Liam does that and the maid lands on the ground. She introduces herself to Liam's Amagi and his butler tells him that from today onward, Amagi will serve as his personal aide. He tells Liam that she'll need to undergo maintenance once every week, but aside from that, she can be active 24/7 to take care of Liam's needs. But Liam stopped listening a while ago because he is too busy inspecting the assets. The butler asks him what he's doing, so Liam explains that he is just checking to make sure the manufacturing company built her with the double Ds he requested. Even if that's the case, the butler tells Liam that he shouldn't do such things in front of other people. So Liam asks Amadi to come with him to his room so he can do a thorough inspection of every part of her body, and the butler is really worried about Liam's innocence. A couple of hours later, Liam is getting a shoulder massage from Amadi, and the butler asks Liam what he did in here, but Liam tells him not to worry about it. He may look like a 5-year-old, but his mind is actually 36. However, the butler tells him that 36 is still practically a child. Liam is shocked to hear this, so Amadi explains the average lifespan in this world is 600 years, and you're not considered an adult until you're around 100. Liam had no idea that the lifespans here were so long, but he's happy about it because a long life will give him plenty of time to try a lot of things, and he'd love to have Amadi by his side the entire time. Liam's butler warns him that it's not a good idea to get too close to Amadi, since the Empire as a whole despises AI. So if people see him being friendly with an AI, then it could start bad rumors about him. Liam doesn't understand why people would hate AI, so he asks the butler to explain. He tells Liam that long ago, humans were nearly wiped out by AI in the Great Skynet War. They were enslaved and nearly driven to extinction. But in those dark times, a group of people bravely fought back against the AI and restored the freedom of humanity. Those were the same people who founded the Empire, so it is pretty understandable that the Empire's nobility doesn't like AI very much. But if all that is true, then why would his mother give him an AI for his birthday? The butler says he was told to keep it a secret, but since Liam is the new count, he orders the butler to tell him. The butler reveals that Liam's parents abandoned him and ran. Liam asks what they were running from, so the butler explains that they dumped the massive debt of the Banfield family on Liam's shoulders so they wouldn't have to deal with it. Liam's great-grandfather, Alistair, was a great man who accomplished many things and made a name for the Banfield family. But Liam's father was a straight bum, so when he took over control of the Banfield family, he ran everything straight into the ground. Now the Banfield family owes a ton of money and has lost the rights to all the farmable resources on their frontier planets. On top of that, their industries have dwindled, so there's almost no tax revenue coming in, and that means they'll never be able to pay back the debt. In other words, Lil Bro is cooked. Elsewhere on planet Hydra, a couple of the citizens are gathered in a bar, and they are talking about how their new lord is apparently a 5-year-old. One of the men there talks about how much he hates this place because the last time a new lord was introduced, they got taxed a lot for no reason, but all they can do for now is hope that things turn out better than it did last time. Meanwhile, Liam is still trying to wrap his head around the whole thing, because if the Banfield territory has been poor for so long, why would his parents suddenly decide to drop the burden on their 5-year-old son? But then he realizes that they must have given birth to him specifically because they wanted to drop their debts on him. In his past life, Liam was abused, used, and then flushed away like toilet paper. But he swears that he isn't going to let that happen to him here as well. He asks Amagi to team up with him to make sure his future is a good one, and Amagi is more than happy to assist Liam in any way because he has given her a purpose. Liam is glad that he finally has someone he can fully trust, so he looks forward to working with Amagi. But before that, he decides to give her the 3 laws of robots that will ensure the safety of humanity. The first law is that Amagi is not allowed to cause harm to any human being. Then Liam thinks about it and realizes that he doesn't care about any other human beings, so he decides to go with a different set of laws. First, he says Amagi is not allowed to do anything that would cause harm to him. Secondly, she must obey all orders that Liam gives her unless it would conflict with the first law. And finally, she is to protect herself at all times, unless doing so would contradict the first or second law. Now that that's done, Liam tells Amagi that he plans to revitalize the Banfield domain, so he wants to know if she has any ideas on how he could do that. Amagi does a quick search, and she eventually comes up with something. But before she tells Liam, she warns him that since she's an AI, her ideas may not line up with the ideals of the Empire. However, she's equipped to provide administrative support for Liam's governance. However, Liam knows absolutely nothing about this world, so Amagi suggests that he should use an education capsule. Is a special device that can download 10 years worth of information into your head in the span of only 6 months, and it even strengthens your body while you're in there. Liam thinks that's a good idea, but there won't be anyone to take charge of the Banfield domain while he's in there, so he grants Amagi temporary authority to run the domain while he is in the capsule. Brian objects to the idea because doesn't want Liam to entrust the entire domain to an AI, but Liam says it's fine since Amagi would never do anything bad unless he ordered her to. And besides, there's no law saying an AI can't temporarily run a domain, so he's going to leave everything in her hands. Once the education capsule is prepared, Liam is ready to begin the process. But before he goes in, there's something he wants to ask Amagi. He wants to know if she can experience emotions or something similar. And while Amagi says she can't be sure, when Liam asked her to team up with him, her logs caused a cache memory overflow, or in simple terms, it made her happy. Liam's glad to hear that, so he reminds Amagi that he is leaving everything in her care and goes into the education pod. The story continues. We see once Liam is done cooking, the pod opens up and Amagi is there to greet him. He asked her how long he was inside the capsule, so Amagi informs him that it has been 2 years since he went into the pod. Once Liam gets dressed, Amagi gives him a breakdown on the current economic state of the Banfield territory, and everything seems to have gone smoothly, so Liam thanks Amagi for her hard work. Liam says he wants to go take a look around the territory, so Amagi decides to show him the battleship docks first. This is the first time Liam has actually ever seen the territory in person, and he is especially intrigued by the battle suits, so he asks Amagi if he can try it out, and she is more than happy to arrange a test for him. She informs Liam that the armor automatically performs basic movements, so all he needs to do is imagine the action he wants to perform and it will happen. He gives it a shot, and once the suit systems are engaged, Liam is able to walk around in it. Liam wishes he could try fighting with one of these, and to his surprise, Amagi says she can arrange a mock battle for him. So a few minutes later, the chief of the planet's defense force, Masita, arrives to duel Liam. As soon as the match begins, Liam charges forward and strikes at Masita. But even though he blocked the hit, Masita pretends that he lost. He isn't very good at acting, so Liam can tell that he is going easy on him and he doesn't like it. He orders Masita to take this duel seriously, and Masita can't disobey a direct order from his lord. So as Liam charges at him again, Masita grabs the sword, disarms Liam, and flips him onto the ground. Liam doesn't understand how he could have been defeated so easily, so Amagi explains that the suit's movements are determined by what the user can visualize. So people with years of combat experience like Masita have much better control. Because of that humiliating defeat, Liam orders Brian to find a combat instructor for him immediately. Brian tries to convince him that there's no reason for him to learn how to fight, but Liam is adamant and refuses to take no for an answer. In his past life, he was oppressed by people who had more power than him, so if he plans to live life here as an evil lord, then he needs to be strong. A little while later, Liam meets with a man named Yasushi and he is a master of the way of the Flash. Liam is ecstatic because he thinks Yasushi looks really cool, so he introduces himself and says he wants Yasushi to become his instructor. Yasushi agrees to become Liam's teacher, but Amagi doesn't think it's a good idea to hire Yasushi because he seems shady. Liam doesn't deny that Yasushi is shady, but he looks like a samurai, so he is willing to overlook it. If Liam thinks Yasushi will be a good teacher, then Amagi has no right to object, but she asks him to at least verify Yasushi's skill before hiring him, so Liam asks him to perform a little demonstration. Yasushi agrees the demonstration, so he leads Liam and Amagi to a clearing in the woods where he already has several posts set up. Before he begins, he tells Liam that he is about to demonstrate his secret technique known as the Way of the Flash, and he's never going to demonstrate it again. Liam had better watch closely. Liam understands, so to make sure he can study it later, he asks Amagi to start recording. Yasushi takes his position, then he partially draws his sword and shuts it. In the next second, all the pillars around him split in halves, so Liam is truly amazed by the feat. It should be impossible for a person to move so fast, so Liam asks Amagi to show him the recording in slow motion so he can see how Yasushi did it. But when they watch the footage, no matter how much Amagi slows it down, there's no sign that Yasushi ever actually drew his sword. Liam assumes that Yasushi must have been moving so fast that Amagi's cameras couldn't keep up with him, so he's even more convinced that Yasushi is amazing and asks to become his disciple. Later that night, Yasushi returns to the spot with the pillars, and he can't believe Liam actually fell for a TikTok trend. All he did was slice the pillars ahead of time so they would fall down on their own, and now he gets to collect a cushy salary from Liam without needing to do anything. Meanwhile, the princess is heading for a meeting with the Go's pirates to discuss the possibility of peace. Go's was the one who proposed a truce, but the second she shows up, he tells her she was stupid to come here all by herself. Christiana replies, telling Go's that she didn't come here on her own, and if Go's tries anything, then the entire fleet of the Alliance will blow his ship to smithereens. This was supposed to be a power move, but Go's isn't scared because he knows the Alliance is really on his side. Just then, Christiana receives a report that pirates have closed in on her home planet. And this makes no sense to her because it should have been impossible for the pirates to get through a planet's defense line. So Go's explains that the alliance she formed isn't exactly perfect. So there are some members involved who were happy to betray her once Go's made them an offer. Just then, Christiana's crew warns her that all the ships in the alliance are pointing their cannons at the ship. She can't believe Go's actually managed to turn her own army against her, but now she has no choice but to listen to Go's demands. Back on Liam's world, he has been training under Yasushi and he is really exhausted. But no matter how hard he works, he still isn't able to use the Way of the Flash. He asks Amagi if there's a way for him to learn that move, but she's an AI, so she doesn't know much about it. For the past 3 years, Yasushi has only had Liam training in the basics of swordsmanship, but Liam is getting bored of that. On the bright side, since Liam has mastered all the basics, Amagi says his fighting ability is a lot better than it was before, but Liam doesn't care about that. What he wants is a flashy move that'll look cool when he does it. That night, Yasushi is in his room reading manga as usual, and he is still finding it hard to believe that he landed a gig this good. Yasushi may be a scammer, but he still knows a bit about sword fighting, so all he has had to do for the past 3 years is teach Liam basic movements and he has been getting paid an insane amount for it. He hopes this gravy train will last forever, but a moment later Liam shows up and asks Yasushi to teach him how to use the Way of the Flash. Yasushi immediately says he is quitting. He makes up an excuse and reminds Liam that he said he would only demonstrate the Way of the Flash technique once, so if he is dissatisfied with that, then there's no point in Yasushi remaining here as his teacher. Liam immediately lowers his head and starts begging Yasushi for forgiveness for being so insolent, and Yasushi says he will forgive him this time, but he had better not make the same mistake again. As soon as Liam leaves the room, Yasushi breathes a sigh of relief because he was worried that Liam was going to find out that he's a fraud. There's no way he can teach Liam the Way of the Flash, that even he doesn't know how to do it. Just then, Liam shows back up and Yasushi is worried that he might have heard him just now, but Liam just came to tell him that he has something to do tomorrow, so he won't be able to train. Meanwhile, Christiana has been taken hostage by the Go's pirates, and she's currently being held in Captain Go's room. She asks him what he's going to do with her, so Go's explains that he just wanted to give her front row seats to the show. Christiana doesn't understand what he means at first, but then Go's orders all his ships to point their guns at Christiana's planet. She realizes what he is planning to do, so she begs Go's to stop, but it's too late. He orders his men to open fire, and Christiana is forced to watch as her planet is destroyed. Back on Liam's planet, he is still frustrated that he hasn't been able to learn the Way of the Flash yet, but he still needs to attend to his duties as a lord, so he asked Amagi to give him the monthly report. Amagi shows him some graphs detailing the current economic state of the planet, and while the massive debt remains unchanged, the production sectors have been seeing steady growth. Liam is glad he entrusted the governance to Amagi because she's clearly doing a good job, but Amagi says the growth rate is actually a lot slower than she expected it to be. They've made significant investments in things such as the welfare program, but the benefits derived from it are far below what they should be considering the budget and time frame. Liam asks to see the financial reports for the welfare program, and all his years of accounting finally pay off because he can immediately see the problem. He tells Amagi to summon the man in charge of the welfare program, and a few minutes later his walking pimple shows up. Liam wastes no time and tells the man that if he has an excuse, he had better say it now. The noble tries to feign ignorance, but Liam knows he has been embezzling funds from the welfare program. He tried concealing it with clever invoice manipulation, but Liam is used to scanning through invoices, so he can clearly tell that something is off. On top of that, the noble switched vendors for the project, so Liam asks him why he did that. The noble tries to claim that the other vendor is better, but if that were the case, then the welfare program would be doing a lot better than this. It is obvious that the noble is as corrupt as can be, but Liam honestly isn't even that mad. After all, he came to this world because he wanted to become an evil lord, so he needs to learn to take advantage of his position like this too. Just then, Amagi informs Liam that there was an embezzlement case opened against the noble, and Liam is surprised that the noble was caught and managed to keep his job. But the noble tells him that the investigation was closed and it was determined that his subordinate was actually the one behind the embezzlement. Liam asks Amagi if that is true, and she confirms it, but no real evidence was ever presented to support the claim that the subordinate was to blame and the noble had the man executed. Liam knows this pattern all too well, so he accuses the noble of framing his subordinate and having him killed. The noble frantically tries to deny it, but Liam knows every word that comes out of his mouth is a lie, so he picks up his sword and slowly walks up to the noble. The man now realizes that Liam isn't going to be fooled, so he starts trying to plead his case and explains that all the other nobles are doing the same thing, so it's perfectly normal to ruin people's lives for his personal gain. After hearing him say that, Liam draws his sword and is about to kill the noble, but Amagi tells him to stop. The noble then starts yelling about how Liam is too young to understand that this is just how the world works. But before he can even say another word, Liam cuts his head off. Liam is still furious, so he orders Amagi to investigate all the nobles on this planet and execute all the corrupt ones immediately, but she tells him he needs to calm down first. This is the first time Liam has ever actually killed somebody, and he is so racked with nerves that he can't let go of the sword. Amagi helps him release his hand, and in regards to his previous order, she tells him it would cause problems if he were to execute all the corrupt nobles. Practically all the nobles are corrupt, so if he kills them all, then there will be no one left to manage the planet. As a compromise, she asks him to prepare a selection of dolls to take over the administrative positions of the planet, and Liam trusts her, so he agrees. A little while later, Liam is back in the loading bay, and since he is now well versed in the basics of sword fighting, he wants to practice with a battle suit again. But before he gets into one, Yasushi shows up and tells him he can never become a great fighter if he uses the regular automated suits. So Liam asks Masita if there's another one he can use, and he's informed that there is a suit which is completely manual, but practically nobody has ever been able to use it. The story continues. We see the whole reason Yasushi came up with this idea in the first place is because Liam was actually becoming a good swordsman, and if Liam manages to master swordsmanship, Yasushi will lose his cushy job as a fraud. And while he was snooping through the royal store for something to steal, he accidentally stumbled across a wrecked mech, so he decided to trick Liam into using it, since there's no way a kid like him would ever be able to master it. And his plan totally worked because Liam is now fully invested in training with the avid mech. Theoretically, since the mech gets completely manual, learning to use it properly will give Liam an edge over all the automatic mech users in the galaxy, so training with it might actually make him stronger, but first he needs to get someone to fix it. Masita is glad that Liam is so focused on his mech training, but he doesn't understand why he wants to start with a manual one that's hard to control, and he is even more confused by the fact that Liam has been slashing at that post non-stop for a few days now. He asks Liam what he's doing, so Liam explains that he is just trying to replicate the secret technique that Yasushi showed him, and no matter how long it takes, he's going to continue practicing until he masters it. Masita doesn't believe that the technique actually exists, but there's no way he can convince Liam that Yasushi is lying to him, so he just lets him do what he wants. Later that day, Amagi heads to the loading bay to fulfill Liam's request. She personally thinks Yasushi's advice is worth less than an NFT, but since Liam wants to use this mech, she's going to do her best to make it happen. But she isn't qualified to perform the maintenance personally, so an Imperial mech specialist is called in. The next day, Liam and Amagi go to greet Nayaz at the port, and as soon as Nayaz spots Amagi, she starts acting weird. Liam assumed someone from the Empire would be disgusted by the sight of an android, but to his surprise, Nayaz actually seems really excited. She has an unhealthy obsession with androids, and she can tell that Amagi is a really high-spec model, so she wants to inspect every nook and cranny for research purposes. Liam did the exact same thing when he first met Amagi, but watching someone else do it is plain weird, so he tells Nayaz to stop. He later leads her to the bay with the manual mech and asks her to restore it, but Nayaz tells him this thing is toast. He'd be much better off buying one of the newer models, but Liam insists that he wants to use this mech. Nayaz tells him the parts for this model mech aren't in production anymore, so it will cost a lot to repair it, but Liam doesn't care. He is willing to spend as much money as it takes to get this thing up and running. And those words are a dream come true for Nayaz, because that means she can charge Liam as much as she wants for the repairs. But there's one more thing. Liam says he wants the mech to have a finisher. Nayaz doesn't know what a finisher is supposed to be, so Liam explains that it's a cool move that he can use to wipe out his enemies like a rocket fist. Just then, Yasushi happens to enter the bay, and as soon as he sees Nayaz, he falls in love right away. After calming himself down, he tries to play it cool and approach her with his fake backstory. But she couldn't care less about him because she is much more invested in explaining why a rocket fist is a stupid idea. The thrusters would take up way too much space, and intentionally losing your hand in a fight is a terrible idea. But Liam still thinks it's cool, so he tells Nayaz to spend as much money as it takes to add a rocket fist to the mech. The two eventually come to an agreement and are having good fun talking about how cool mechs are, but Yasushi can't believe that Nayaz likes Liam more than him. It might have something to do with the fact that Liam is actually likable, but Yasushi is a jealous MF, so he decides to take out his maidenless frustrations on Liam by forcing him to do impossible training. He blindfolds Liam and shoots tennis balls at him while he is balancing on a log in the middle of a lake. He makes up some stuff about this being necessary to unlock Liam's mind's eye so he can sense attacks coming without looking, but it's total BS. Meanwhile, after Christiana's ship was taken over by Goz, she and her entire crew are taken as prisoners and Goz is taking great pleasure in rubbing defeat in her face. Christiana asks him what he intends to do with her, so Goz explains that he's going to take her to his treasure planet and add her to his stash. Christiana thinks Goz is talking about some kind of weird sex dungeon or something, but she soon finds out that it's much worse. Goz drags her over to the lab, and there Christiana sees something horrific. This lump of nightmare fuel used to be one of Christiana's subordinates, but Goz handed her over to his mad scientist, and now she looks like something from Made in Abyss. Goz tells the scientist that Christiana is going to be his new pet, and there are a lot of things he would like to try on her. First, he plans to gauge one of her eyes out and then implant that eye in his hand so Christiana can watch as her body is twisted and mangled beyond recognition, just like the rest of his pet. While Christiana is having the worst time of her life, things back on Liam's planet are going pretty well. Under Liam's rule, the economy has gotten a lot better, so all the locals are very happy. They couldn't expect things to work out this well, but they can't wait to see what Liam does next to improve the planet. But little do they know, Liam just blew the large chunk of the planetary budget on his mech. Nayaz is finally done restoring it to its former glory, and she's really proud of how it turned out, so she offers to show Liam how the controls work. The control room inside the mech was expanded to make it more comfortable, and once Liam is all strapped in, Nayaz starts the engine. The mech turns on and immediately scans Liam to designate him as the new pilot, so now no one else can use this mech. Liam is excited to finally try it out, but as soon as he grabs the controls, the mech falls over. Nayaz reminds him that this mech doesn't have any auto-balance features, so Liam is going to have to manually stabilize it with each step. Normally this would be impossible to pull off, but Liam has been training for this moment, so he regains control of the mech and carefully gets it back on its feet. He then slowly begins walking out of the bay, and Nayaz is impressed by how well he can control this thing since this is his first time actually using it. While he's walking, she tells Liam that his imagination is incredibly crucial for this mech's operation. The more vivid the mental image, the sharper the mech's movements will become. Liam tries to focus his imagination to make the mech do something cool, but then his eyes wander over to Nayaz's chest and it all went downhill from there. Liam is now vividly imagining what it would feel like to touch Nayaz in every way imaginable, and the mech is performing the action in front of everyone there. They have no idea that the mech is just responding to Liam's imagination, so they all fully believe that Liam is running a train on Nayaz right now. Yasushi is furious at the thought that Liam just stole his crush from him, but Masita is actually relieved because at least it's a human this time. Meanwhile, Liam is trying to come up with an explanation to stop Nayaz from thinking he's a pervert, but the mech already started doing pelvic thrusts, and there's no coming back from that. As revenge, Yasushi ends up hitting Liam with tennis balls out of jealousy again, but after that, Liam goes back to his regular training. He's outside practicing the way of the flash technique, but no matter how much he swings his sword, he can't cut the post from a distance. He is starting to worry that he doesn't have any talent for swordsmanship like this, but Amagi comes over and assures him that isn't the case. She tells him that the problem is with Yasushi and his teachings, as well as the amount of blind faith Liam puts in him. But when Liam hears Amagi mention his faith in Yasushi, he is convinced that she means he doesn't have enough faith in his teacher. There is no way Yasushi would ever lie to him or make a mistake, so Liam believes he must be misinterpreting Yasushi's lesson somehow. Just then, he remembers that magic exists in this world, so even though slicing a post without touching it seems physically impossible, it should be possible with the aid of magic. Liam has just made a major breakthrough in his training, so for the next couple of months he diligently practices slashing with his magic until one day he calls Yasushi to show him what he has accomplished. Liam tells Yasushi that he has finally mastered the way of the flash, but that shouldn't be possible, so Yasushi is expecting Liam to fail yet again. However, as Liam unsheathes his sword, he launches a concentrated wave of magic forward, slicing the post in half from a distance. Yasushi can't believe what he's seeing, but he needs to keep his act as a master going, so he tells Liam he has done well, but there is still much more for him to learn before he can truly master the technique. Yasushi then leaves, and he is really starting a panic because Liam is a monster when it comes to training. Yasushi has been lying to him about the way of the flash for years, but Liam was still somehow able to make it happen. Some time passes and Liam is informed that one of his resource planets is under attack from pirates. It's the only one that wasn't impounded for the mortgage on the Banfield debt, and the only reason the Empire didn't seize it is because its environment is poor and mining on the planet is difficult, so they didn't think it was worth much. However, Amagi was able to set up a few plants on the planet to generate extra income for Liam. However, that plan is being targeted by the pirates right now, and while the Banfield army station there has been fighting back, it's only a matter of time before they get wiped out. Liam asks Amagi if she has a planned attack ready, so she suggests that she and Liam should head into battle against the pirates while approaching from the planet's blind spot for a surprise attack. Liam likes the sound of that, so he orders all of his troops to get ready to hold off the pirate forces in orbit, while Liam is going to personally defend the plant. Masita tries to object since it's dangerous for the Lord to go fight pirates in person, but Liam refuses to let anyone steal from him again. Plus, he really wants to show off the new skills he learned. Liam and his fleet soon arrive at the resource planet, so Amagi prepares the rail cannon and loads Liam's mech into it. Once the cannon is primed and ready for launch, Amagi informs Liam and sends him hurtling straight for the planet's surface. The pirates are in the middle of destroying the last of the planetary defense force here, when all of a sudden one of them gets shot out of the sky. The pirates turn around to see who's attacking them, and a few moments later, Liam descends and slashes one of the pirates in half. The rest of the units try to scatter and hide so they can surround Liam, but as two try to sneak up behind him, Liam senses them coming and instantly cuts them in half. He couldn't see them approaching, but after all those tennis balls Yasushi hit him with, he has learned to predict attacks that he can't see. Just then, a group of pirates start firing lasers at him, so Liam decides to do the same and sheathes his sword so he can summon a laser cannon. He then starts blasting the pirates left and right, so they decide to try overwhelming him by attacking all at once. However, they just line themselves up perfectly for Liam's secret technique. Liam draws his sword, and with a flash of mana, a large chunk of the pirate army is decimated. The pirates are shocked that Liam can slash them from a distance, and if he can do that then they don't want to fight anymore, so those who survive start flying away. Liam is disappointed that he won't get to show off any more of his sword skills, but he doesn't plan on letting the pirates escape, so he prepares to use his secret weapon. He yells out Rocket Fist and points his arm at the fleeing pirates, but instead of a regular rocket fist, Abbott summons a fist-shaped nuke and launches it at the pirates. None of those pirates are going to survive something like that, but Liam is upset because this isn't what he meant when he told Nias to install a rocket fist. Just then, Liam gets a message from Amagi, and she apologizes because she couldn't wipe out the pirate forces. 60% of the pirates managed to escape, but Amagi was able to destroy around 30% of them, and her remaining ships were commandeered for use in Liam's army. It would have been nice to wipe out the entire pirate force, but Liam is satisfied with how things turned out, so he thanks Amagi and tells her she did a great job. The story continues. We see Goes has just been informed that the pirates he sent to plunder the Banfield resource planet failed their mission, and he is furious. The scientist tells him the squad underestimated the strength of the Banfield forces, so they had to withdraw or risk losing the entire fleet. However, as logical as the decision sounds, Goes plans to execute all the pirates that chose to run. He refuses to allow cowards among his ranks to live, and after he takes care of them, he plans to send a message by personally completing the mission. He's going to be gone for a while, so he mockingly tells now mangled and mutilated Christiana that he will be back to play with her later. Meanwhile, Liam and his fleet have just returned from their battle, and he is very happy with how things turned out. They were able to defend the resource planet, and as an added bonus, they were able to steal several pirate ships. And according to Imperial law, whenever you steal from a pirate, the entire ship as well as all its cargo legally belongs to you now. And as luck would have it, the pirate ships they got were holding a lot of stolen treasure. When Liam hears the word treasure, he immediately starts thinking of gold and silver, but Brian tells him the cargo is way more valuable than gold or silver. After taking inventory, Amagi tells Liam that the ships were full of rare metals like orichalcum and adamantite, but Liam isn't interested in those metals because they can only be used to make weapons. He was hoping to get something like a diamond-encrusted crown, but Brian doesn't understand why, because diamonds are just worthless, shiny rocks in this world. In comparison, orichalcum and adamantite are infinitely more valuable, but Liam doesn't care because he still wants to have things like gold. Since he's so interested in gold, Brian informs him that there was some gold on the ships as well, and as soon as he hears this, he orders Brian to use the gold to make a ton of gold coins. In that case, Brian asks him if he wants to make coins out of all the other metals too, but Liam isn't that short-sighted. He wants to use those to make weapons for his army, but Amagi tells him there's one major problem with that idea. They don't have a blacksmith, and on a separate note, there's something Amagi wants to discuss with him. The Banfield military has around 10,000 ships on hand, but after running diagnostics checks on all of them, Amagi discovered that most of the ships are unusable. In fact, when the order was given to mobilize the fleet against the pirates, only 30% of them were able to go into battle. Liam is surprised that they were able to win the battle against the pirates with only 30% of their fleet, but that is just because the pirates underestimated them. For the rest of the Empire, the Banfield territory is still very poor, so naturally the pirates assumed it would be easy to steal the Banfield resource planet. And normally they would be right, but Liam's exceptional mech piloting skills turn the tables on them. However, if the pirates were to launch a full-scale attack on them, there's no way they could win as they are now. Liam doesn't like the fact that over 70% of his ships are unusable, so Amagi says she has an idea and suggests he should get rid of all the broken ships. Brian immediately objects because if they get rid of the non-functional ships, then their military stats will go down and they will be seen as easy targets. That may be true, but keeping all those broken ships would cost a lot in maintenance fees, and Liam doesn't want to pay for that, so he agrees with Amagi. But to address Brian's concerns, Amagi says they can just buy more ships to replace the one that will be discarded. And if they sell all the precious metals they acquired from the pirate ship, they should have enough to cover the cost of a new fleet, so money won't be an issue. Elsewhere, we see Niaz is in the middle of a presentation to introduce her new ship design, and she's very proud of it because she was able to improve the output by 7%, while also increasing the responsiveness and maintainability of the ship. And she promises that if her ships are adopted, the Imperial Army's fleet will become even stronger than it already is. The next presentation is from Euligia, the representative of the 3rd Weapons Factory and the new ship model that she's selling as a luxury cruise liner. It has all the atmosphere and elegance of a luxury hotel, topped off with several forms of entertainment and leisure, so the crew is sure to enjoy using it. Niaz's ships are clearly superior in terms of combatability, but hers don't come with an indoor golf course, so the Imperial Army decides to buy from Euligia instead. Niaz tries to argue that her ship is going to be stronger since she put all the resources into maximizing its capabilities, but Euligia says her ships are just as good in combat. Plus, the strength of a ship isn't determined by its weapons alone. It is also dependent on the people who operate it, and if the crew can relax at the onboard bar after a long day's work, it will be much more willing to fight with everything they've got. As they leave the conference hall, Euligia gloats about the Empire picking her over Niaz, but Niaz says this isn't over yet. She may have lost this battle, but she swears she'll prove that her ship design is stronger in real combat. However, she already blew her entire budget on this, and unless she can find someone willing to buy all her unwanted ships, she might have to declare bankruptcy. And it's not like there's anyone impulsive enough to buy a ship model that the Imperial Army rejected. Just then, she remembers that she knows someone who might be willing to buy them after all. If Liam was willing to spend so much money fixing an outdated mech, he should have no problem buying an unpopular ship model. While all this has been happening, the guide has spent most of his time on Earth, messing with people to feast on their suffering. But all of this should be nothing compared to the anguish Liam must be in right now. The last time the guide saw Liam, he sent him to another world where he had crappy parents who dumped their dead on him, so he is expecting to see Liam and his territory in shambles. But to his utter shock, the planet is somehow prospering. He is upset that his plan to make Liam suffer failed, but he still has one more thing to check out. When Liam wanted his swordsmanship instructor, the guy made sure to send Yasushi, a hopeless fraud who couldn't swing a sword to save his life, so there's no way Liam actually learned anything from him. Meanwhile, in a bar, a few of the locals are talking about how good the economy has become under Liam's rule. But while everyone is just glad to have Liam as their lord, Yasushi thinks Liam is a monster. Yasushi knows he's a fraud, and he was just trying to keep up the act by giving Liam impossible tasks over and over, but Liam actually managed to learn and master techniques that Yasushi didn't even know were possible. The guide hears Yasushi say this, and he has no idea what Yasushi is talking about, so he checks in on Liam and finds him in the middle of training. He watches as Liam completely destroys a post without even touching it, and he can't believe what he's seeing. And he's sure he didn't give Liam any overpowered abilities, so Liam's progress is entirely due to his own hard work. The guy doesn't understand how things could be going so well for Liam in a world like this. And honestly, Liam wasn't expecting it either, because getting abandoned by your parents and being plunged into debt at the age of 5 is a great way to ruin someone's life. But one way or another, things worked out and now the economy of his territory is improving and Liam is finally living his dream life, all thanks to the guide. All of Liam's positive emotions are leaving a bad taste in the guide's mouth, and he absolutely hates it. After refreshing himself with some of Yasushi's negative emotions, he regains his composure and starts coming up with a new plan to ruin Liam's life. Liam may be doing well now, but the fall to rock bottom hurts even more when you're close to reaching new heights. Right now, Liam is discussing the ship's situation with Amagi, and he wants to know if she has found any leads. Amagi tells him that the Imperial Army is apparently upgrading their fleet to a new model, so they're selling off their old ones at a discounted rate. Even if they are outdated models, Imperial ships are still very powerful, so Liam's on board with the idea of buying them, but Amagi tells him that there's one condition to the purchase. They're going to have to agree to hire all the existing crew on those ships. So basically, the Empire is trying to offload all the crew members that they don't want anymore. Hiring all those soldiers would definitely cost a lot, but with their current budget, Amagi thinks they can afford it. Plus, a lot of the crew members are officers with valuable knowledge, so hiring them would improve the strength of Liam's army. When Amagi puts it like that, it sounds like a good idea, so Liam agrees to the deal. The guide hears all of this, and he thinks he can use this as an opportunity to plunge Liam into despair. He plans to pull some strings and send very earnest people as part of the soldiers that Liam will be hiring. And with how Liam claims to be an evil lord, it will only be a matter of time before he gets overthrown for his tyranny. While all that is happening, Yasushi is sitting in his house for the hangover, wondering how he let his life get to this point. However, he suddenly hears Nya's voice and he quickly cleans himself up and goes back to acting like a stoic master. Nya's had her doubts about Yasushi at first, but after seeing how much Liam has improved under Yasushi's tutelage, she is convinced that he must be a skilled master. Yasushi is surprised that Nya's would come to see him on her own, so he thinks he might have a chance with her, but in reality she just came to get information about Liam. However, the way she words her questions makes Yasushi think she's talking about him. Nya's wants to know how to convince Liam to listen to her sales pitch, but she's worried that it would seem rude to go up and just ask, so asks Yasushi for his opinion on how to put a man in a good mood. Yasushi thinks she's looking for ideas to seduce him, but he is worried she will think he is weird. However, Nya's pleads with him to tell her because she really needs to know how to get on a man's good side. After seeing Nya's beg like this, Yasushi wastes no time and starts listing off every fantasy he has ever had, including all the source codes. Nya's is stunned in silence for a few seconds, and Yasushi is starting to worry that he may have said too much, but Nya's calmly asks him if she should wear stockings as well. Yasushi is surprised she doesn't think he's weird now, but he tells her stockings are good too, so Nya's sincerely thanks him for his advice. A few hours later, Nya's shows up at Liam's castle to see him, and she is wearing the exact outfit Yasushi described in hopes of seducing Liam. Liam may be gullible, but he's not stupid, so he can immediately tell that Nya's is up to something, and knowing her, she most likely wants him to buy something. Nya's admits that she wants him to buy the latest model of the battleship she built, but Liam immediately refuses. Nya's begs him to at least hear her out before refusing, but Liam doesn't need to listen to the sales pitch because he already bought several used battleships from the Imperial Army, so he has no need for Nya's ships. Nya still tries to convince him with her ship stats, but while the ships do seem impressive, Liam tells her to go sell them to the Imperial Army if she wants to make a sale so badly. Nya's admits that she already tried that, but she lost at the showcase, so she couldn't sell any of her ships. She asked Liam if he would be willing to buy some of her ships, even if it's just 100 or 200 because it would really help her out. She could even help him get a loan to pay for it if he wants, but Liam tells her to stop talking because he can't stand the thought of going into debt again. Nyas is starting to get really desperate, so she starts taking off her clothes in hopes of seducing Liam into buying the ships. But it just reminds Liam how his wife in his past life probably seduced his boss. Liam knows Nyas isn't that kind of person, but right now she looks really pitiful, so just to get her to stop trying to seduce him, he agrees to buy some ships. He asks Amagi if they still have any money left over in the budget, and Amagi tells him they can afford to buy around 300 of Nyas's ships. Nyas is extremely grateful and promises to deliver the ships right away, but as she is leaving, she trips over her own feet and falls on her face. Liam does think Nyas is beautiful, and he can't deny that her design and technical skills are top-notch, but she's a bit of a train wreck at times. Out in the halls, Nyas is excitedly telling her team to prepare 300 ships for sale, and her coordinator is surprised to hear that she actually found someone who is willing to buy their ships, but Nyas says it's all thanks to her flawless charm. Meanwhile, Liam is getting his ears cleaned by Amagi in his throne room, and he couldn't be happier because everything is going well for him. The story continues. We see a few hours later, Nyas delivers all the ships that Liam purchased from her, and once they are all docked, Liam and Amagi come aboard to inspect them. Liam is glad that he managed to get his hands on some of the latest ships, but he can see why the Empire chose to go with the other models, because this one has no luxury whatsoever. Nyas defends herself by saying luxury designs are useless in combat, but that doesn't change the fact that people still like them. Nyas gives Liam a quick rundown on the maintenance requirements for this ship, and she even offers him an extended warranty for future tune-ups, but Liam says he doesn't need all that. Anyway, to finalize the purchase, she needs Liam to sign the receipt, but there's actually one more thing she was hoping to get from him. She asks if he would be willing to give her a few of the pirate ships he acquired a few days ago, but Liam immediately refuses. He says he plans to integrate the ships into his fleet, but Nyas insists that he should be able to spare at least one or two. Liam is about to refuse her again, but Amagi speaks up and says she has an idea in mind. It could give Nyas the ship she wants, but only if Nyas is willing to convert the rest of the pirate ships so they can be made compatible with Liam's current fleet. After all, pirate ships use a lot of unfamiliar technology from outside the Empire, so it would take a lot of work to integrate them with the current systems. Nyas is more than happy to agree to that, since standardizing a few ships is a cheap task compared to all the valuable information she gets from studying unknown technology. Now that Liam thinks about it, it would be fun to check out one of the pirate ships in person, so he suggests they should go look at one of them right now. Shortly after, all three arrive at one of the pirate ships, and it's a whole lot different from the battleships that Liam is used to. Nyas is excited because this is a goldmine of new innovation to copy, and Liam is excited as well because he just noticed a steering wheel in the middle of the control room and he really likes it. He asks Nyas to install one in his ship when they get back, but Nyas tells him it would be a waste to do that, since using the control panel to steer would be much more efficient. But Liam doesn't care if his steering wheel is inefficient because it looks cool. That aside, Nyas keeps looking around the ship and she's continually amazed by all the new tech she's seeing. This ship's gravity lasers somehow turn in the imaginary plane, it's got inverted other generators, and it even has GTA 6 pre-installed. She can't wait to analyze all of this data when she gets back home, but while Nyas is still feeling out, Liam spots something that looks like a dog in the corner, so he decides to follow it. Amagi notices that Liam is acting strangely, so she asks if everything is alright, and Liam explains that he could have sworn he just saw a dog here, but now he can't find it. The trail ends at this door, so Liam and Amagi head inside and discover that this is the navigation room for the ship. Amagi turns it on and explains that this place keeps logs of every path this ship has ever flown. And from the map they are looking at, it looks like the pirates have been raiding planet systems all across the Aldrin Empire, which is to be expected. However, after taking a closer look at the data, Amagi discovers that there's a pattern to the ship's travel routes. Whenever the pirates were done looting a planet, they would always return to the Empire through a warp gate, and from there they would make a short-distance warp to the border. This region has been a battle zone between the Empire and other nations for ages, so it is very hard to monitor what goes on in there, making it the perfect hideout for a group of pirates. Liam asks what the coordinates are for the short warp, but apparently the coordinates change each time the pirates return from a looting spree. Amagi begins analyzing the different coordinates, and she maps it onto the path of a small rogue planet that's floating through deep space. With its irregular path, it would be impossible to get to it without knowing where it will be ahead of time, so Amagi believes it might be the pirate's secret base. But Liam has seen enough pirate movies to know that the planet must be a treasure island where the pirates dump all their loot. With the information they now have, Amagi asks Liam what he plans to do, so he tells her he wants to raid the treasure planet. Meanwhile, the pirates who survived the fight against Liam have finally returned to Goes, and Goes is enraged that they let some poor noble make fools out of the Goes pirates. He can't let Liam get away with this, so he orders all his men to get ready for battle because they are going to crush the entire Banfield territory. But before that, he wants to punish the pirates who lost to a child and brought shame to the Goes pirates, so he locks them in a capsule and blows it up. Meanwhile, Liam's fleet sets out immediately to attack the treasure planet, but they need to use the Domus warp gate to get there. They are supposed to use it to make the journey to the Palmonia warp gate, but when Amagi requests permission to pass through, she gets denied. Liam asks her what's wrong, so Amagi explains that their passage was just denied because they haven't paid the toll yet. Just then, a transmission from the warp gate operator contacts Liam's ship, and he tells Liam that the toll for using this warp gate depends on the mass being moved and the distance of the jump. And since Liam wants to transport his entire fleet to the Palmonia gate, it is going to cost a hefty fee. Liam says he's fine with paying the fee, but he didn't bring any money with, so he says he will pay it when he gets back. However, the operator says he can't do that because the Banfield house has a credit score so low that even payday loans wouldn't touch them, so he can't let them pass through without paying the fee first. Of course, if Liam were able to get a trustworthy person to vouch for him, then the manager would be willing to let him go through. But since no one trusts the Banfield house, that's going to be difficult. Liam tells the operator that he can just pay the fee once he gets back, but the operator has no guarantee that Liam will even come back in the first place, so he still can't let him do that. Liam could go home to get the money for the toll, but that would cost him a lot of extra fuel. So instead he decides to use the ancient Karen technique and asks to speak to the manager. Unfortunately, the operator says he is actually the manager of this entire facility, so Liam steps his Karen game up and says he is coming to yell at him in person. Amagi asks Liam if he's sure about this, since if the manager wasn't willing to compromise earlier, then he probably isn't going to change his mind even if Liam goes down there. However, Liam is confident that his excellent negotiation skills will convince the manager to make an exception for them. Meanwhile, at the Palmonia gate, Goes and the rest of his fleet have just arrived, and they plan to use the Palmonia gate to warp over to the Domus gate. From there, he is going to head straight for the Banfield territory to destroy everything that Liam has worked hard to build. He contacts the operator of the Palmonia gate and tells him he wants to go to the Domus gate, and he even gives the operator a little bonus so he doesn't ask any questions. The operator gladly takes the bribe and tells Goes that his wormhole will be ready in a few minutes. Meanwhile, over at the Domus gate, Liam is at the front desk to ask the manager to let his ships pass through the warp gate. The operator has nothing against Liam personally, but just like before, he says he can't let Liam go through that gate until he pays the toll. Liam pleads with him to see if there's any way the manager can help him out, but the rules are the rules, and the manager doesn't care about Liam enough to do him any favors. Just then, the manager gets a message from the Palmonia gate, telling him that Goes and his pirate fleet are headed for this gate. He tells Liam that he has more important matters to attend to and walks off, leaving Liam alone in the reception room. Liam can't believe his negotiation tactics actually failed, but while he is sulking, he notices that Dog's spirit from before, so he decides to follow it again. Meanwhile, in the control room, the manager and his team confirm the wormhole link between Domus and Palmonia, so Go's troops can pass through, and considering the distance, it should take about 30 minutes for Go's and his fleet to arrive here. One of the workers asks the manager if this is really alright, because at this rate, the Go's pirates are going to warp in right in front of Liam's fleet in the waiting area, and knowing Go's, he's going to wipe out Liam's fleet on sight once he gets here. However, the manager doesn't care because Go's already gave him enough bribe money for a nice lake house. So he tells everyone to take a break and leave the control room because they can't be blamed for anything if they aren't here to see it happen. Coincidentally, a few minutes after the manager and his crew left the control room, Liam accidentally wanders in. He realizes this is the control room for the warp gate, but he is confused as to why no one is here. He decides to take a look at the monitor, and to his delight he sees that the Domus warp gate is already connected to the Palmonia warp gate. He assumes the manager must have felt bad for him and set up the connection so Liam could go to Palmonia without paying the fee. But after taking a closer look at the monitor, Liam realizes that the wormhole is moving in the wrong direction. He assumes the manager must have made a simple mistake, so he begins fiddling with the controls to route the wormhole. He eventually manages to reverse the direction of the wormhole, but in the process he creates an unintended branch. This means anyone who is already inside the wormhole would end up in a completely random location. But as far as Liam knows, the wormhole is empty, so he doesn't worry about it. Just then, he gets a call from Amagi and she tells him to hurry back to the ship because she managed to get someone to vouch for them. Liam is surprised to hear this, so he asks who it was, and after getting back to his ship, Amagi informs him that Nias was the one who vouched for them. Naya says it's the least she could do since Liam did save her by buying her ships. Plus, he let her take a few pirate ships, so she owed him big time. Liam thanks Nias for the help, and since he already set the warp gate up, he and his fleet fly through and 30 minutes later they arrive at the Palmonia gate. Now all they have to do is make a short-range jump to get to the rogue planet so they can complete their mission. However, Goes, on the other hand, is still stuck in the wormhole. He has no idea that Liam marauded him, but they've been in this wormhole for a long time, so he's starting to wonder if something went wrong. Just then, the crew informs him that they are approaching a wormhole exit, and Goes is glad to hear that. But as they leave the gate, he is horrified to discover that he and his fleet have landed right in the middle of the training space for the Imperial War fleet of over 100,000 ships. While Go's fleet is being massacred, Liam's fleet has just arrived at the rogue planet, and as soon as they have clear visuals of Go's planet and its defense force, Liam orders everyone to begin attacking. There are roughly 20,000 pirate ships here, which is almost 3 times the size of Liam's fleet, but most of those ships are inactive right now, so Liam's surprise attack catches the pirates off guard. Some of the pirate ships try fighting back, but they weren't prepared for what was about to come next. Liam equips his mech and steps out onto the ship's railgun so Amagi can fire him into the battlefield, and once he is launched, he immediately starts decimating the pirate forces until they go silent. Now that most of the pirates are dead, Liam asks Amagi to send out a bunch of his troops to finish off any stragglers, and in the meantime, Liam plans to search the rogue planet for Go's treasure. That brings the episode to an end. Thanks for watching. Want next part? Subscribe the channel and turn on notification bell.